How are
Esme,
you?
gusto en verte, Esme. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, muy bien. Y una vez más, tengo la oportunidad de estar contigo y hablar de tu trabajo. I mean, since the first time I interview you, I have gone to several of the GRAFT exhibitions, and I can see that it's evolving, and it's super interesting. But I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and talk about yourself a little bit, and then we can dive into talk about the GRAFT.
Okay. So my name is Edra Soto, and I'm an artist. I grew up in Puerto Rico and live in Chicago. I've been living in Chicago for over 20 years. And the work that I'm presenting here at Hyde Park is titled GRAFT, and it's a part of a series that I've been developing and exploring for over a decade now. This is it's called the Decade of GRAFT, and it really tries to navigate the 10 years in various forms. So there's fragments of work that was a part of a GRAFT iteration that is integrated into the installation, and some of those fragments have embedded a viewfinder with a picture that shows the project where that fragment comes from. And there's other fragments that are like concrete blocks or metal work that don't have fragments that don't have the viewfinders integrated. Then there's drawings, architectural drawings for many of the projects of GRAFT, and some of them that are not also presented in the exhibition, because sometimes I have like leftover parts or parts that were a study, and sometimes parts or I never had parts, like leftover parts. Mm-hmm. So the project is really, I think it's very open and honest about how all the parts that are in here, in this installation, come from, and I think it's very much like, also like memory, like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not completely there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty organic as well, and I think it feels true to me as well. I'm not a perfectionist, even though I care about thinking that I'm gonna bring like the best possible version of what I can do. Mm-hmm. But I'm also very accepting of my idiosyncrasies and things that I think make me who I am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Every time I see one of the GRAFT exhibitions, I find new meaning and new connection with it, because it's something like does it in a very human, even spiritual way, because I feel that the project connects cultures, and at the same time it talks about this particular experience of being an immigrant and move to another place that is not from your origin. So I remember seeing the GRAFT in the Smart Museum, in the Cliff Carney Museum, in the Cultural Center, and I know that each one has had different themes or topics. But now it's 10 years after the first one. What are the new insights? How GRAFT has been evolving? What do we find now in this exhibition?
Well, I know it have evolved as a project. Of course, I think it have expanded, it have grown. There's different parts that are the archive of the project, or the literary component of the project that have been integrated in different iterations. So the objective is usually, or is the same, which is trying to represent my migration and how through the project I can inhabit a space. So it's titled GRAFT because I think about my own body and how it inhabits a space. I think about it in terms of my skin and grafting, and how graft meanings, connect to these ideas of skin transplant, and I kept thinking about these motifs as something that will inhabit a space like me, like how I consider all the characteristics of a space. So the way it evolves, it have a lot to do with how it's trying to inhabit the space. So I think about not only the type of space. For example, here at the Hyde Park Art Center, it's a formal gallery. So I think about formal components and how can I integrate those into the installation. So for example, the pedestals that are holding all the fragments are very much trying to establish a conversation in between the space and the work and my work. So it's trying to draw a connection, a relationship. And every iteration of GRAFT is trying to do that, trying to draw a connection between what I want to bring and the space. The space means the physical aspects of the space, but also the people that visit the space, the kind of audience, the kind of public.
Mm-hmm. Because each one also has had like a very personal topic. I was in the Cliff Carney Museum, and it was dedicated to your mom mostly, and the experience of having aging parents and be far from them because we are living in another country. So I found this project very personal, and at the same time connect the humanity to these experiences, because we all have these same experiences. And as you were saying, how you hide memories in las rejas, and how these photographs with memories are living there. When you name this project GRAFT, it came to my mind that has been stories of people that receive organs from other people or skin, and then all of a sudden they are having memories that they don't belong to them, but now they are experiencing that. So the GRAFT is something that has this very meaning, significant for you, right?
Yeah. I think the iterations of GRAFT that incorporate the visual archive or the images tell the story of the architecture that informs the work, but also the life inside that architecture, you see? So I thought for this to make sense, I have to tell the story in a way that it doesn't, people don't feel that are kind of being excluded from it. So I have to use this, I have to think about the ways that I can connect people to the work, or what can I give. And I think the images in the viewfinder, I really love this component of GRAFT because they're not fully present in the work. You have to almost find them or stumble upon the fact that there's an image embedded in this architecture, and like everything else, people can either opt for engaging or like moving on, or people will miss it, just like everything else, you know. Maybe you're at a place and there's something happening, and if you're not paying attention, maybe you miss it, you know, or just you're passing through and it just went by. So I think the images in the viewfinders are behaving like that. They are present, but it requires a little effort, or you will see them if you are actually looking at the work. So the work requires like to be considered, right?
Yes.
And it's present, and I think people need to be present as well, you know, to kind of make that connection.
And some of them have mirrors, so it's like you are becoming part of the structure as well.
Yes, and the mirror was, I guess it was a type of solution at the time for hiding this apparatus, right, the viewfinder, because there's have to be a way to connect this very small and kind of awkward object in this architecture. So I had to think about it. How could that happen? You know. So I imagined something in between the mirror and the viewfinder, just to hide the apparatus. But the mirror ended up being such a great component because I mean, when we use mirrors in a space, it's sometimes to make the illusion that the space is bigger, but also it have a pragmatic purpose, right? Like we use mirrors to look at ourselves, make sure we're put together properly before leaving. So, but the mirror, I mean, like the telephone, it kind of acquire different levels, different meanings, because our times, you know, have done something in relationship to how we look at ourselves, you know. That didn't used to be the case, right? Before the internet, before the iPhone, where we're not constantly looking at ourselves or looking at others or looking our life and looking other people's life. So the mirror have become, you know, something that is, it kind of have acquired new meanings, right? I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And contemporary art, usually it's always linked to a narrative to explain the deep meaning of the installation, of the art. And for me, graft has this very deep attached narrative that, as an immigrant, resonates with me. So when you have to explain graft, or what is this narrative, what do you say?
Well, the first thing that I try to say and not forget is that it's about my migration. That is exactly what all of this have motivated. What have motivated graft, you know.
It's super interesting because also I know that you have done these interventions, like architectural interventions, and it's an allegory of what happened with us when we migrate. We are in another completely environment that is not exactly ours, but we become that part of that environment, and we enrich that, and it's like a feedback of enrichment. So people notice that. People have talked about their experiences in that way when they see these interventions.
Yeah, I think it usually triggers nostalgia. I think it's like the first thing that I will read from somebody that will share my work on social media. I usually say thank you and put a heart next to it, because it's such an honor when somebody shares your work and think that it had a connection, right? And usually this follows a message that will say something, a description, of how they feel. And yeah, it's been, I feel like it's validate my effort of putting these experiences together. It made me feel like it's communicating, right? But nostalgia will be something that I feel everybody connects to. The abuelita, they always talk about the abuelita and the homes, So obviously there's deeper motivations to the project. I'm thinking about the history of these decorative motifs and the significance that is not a part of popular culture, because these have been motifs that have been replicated and culturally appropriated, and they have gone through so much, but there's a story to these particular motifs, especially like the connection to Puerto Rico, which is what pertains me so much, because living 27 years in Puerto Rico and then like having, it's a full life.
Yeah.
I already, form a lot of ideas and, my like life purposes, at 27 is, I think, I still remember, like what connected me to art and this language, and my necessity to express myself and not being able to in so many other ways. But through art, I felt like it was the place where I could have a voice, a voice that wouldn't be compromised by anything, because that's, I think, perhaps the power of making art or being, or deciding that you are going to make things that are made in art form.
Yeah.
That you don't have to really compromise that voice. But of course, the voice is a part of our humanity, and it's connecting to us, and it's providing us another form for us to mold and transform and create a conduct, a vehicle for communication. So, but it can come from like a very authentic place,
And it's what you were saying, that someone can admire these, but not, if they don't pay attention, they just can miss the deep meaning of that, and just enjoy the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
But it's true that it's a voice that we as an immigrants, we need to express. And it's important in this country specifically, when there are a lot of cultures and nations united, and we are trying to create like a utopic type of society, and when we all can live in happiness and peace, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was thinking when I was thinking in graft, I thought, have you shown graft in Puerto Rico?
No, because graft is about things that exist in Puerto Rico, and if I was making a replica of a motif that is sourced in Puerto Rico, I feel like it'd be redundant, and it doesn't really make sense. What I do have available which is always available online on my website, and sometimes in PDFs, publications, will be the literary archive, which tells the story of graft through not only that, my research, but also many voices, people that have contributed to the crafting of the story. So that includes journalists, it includes art historians, architects, poets, and artists as well. So, and thinking about that archive, I think to myself, I know that there's much more to tell, even though I always think that I'm about to finish the project. There's always there's always another reason that I find that I think I need to address through the project.
The reason for which I'm asking if you have shown this in Puerto Rico is because it feels like sometimes when we are in our own places and we haven't left so much, we cannot see the things that are present constantly. They are part of the landscape, and we don't really pay attention to them. But when they are taken out of context and there is a contrast, is when we say, oh yeah, right. This is for my country, and now it looks different here, and it gives another meaning. So that was my question, and also what happened with Puerto Ricans here see these structures.
This is a great question because, if it was not for my migration, perhaps I wouldn't take a second look and see what are the things, how is the outside looking at what is thinking about us, how we portray ourselves. What are the things of cultural value that I can propose to comment and also perhaps challenge, right, the current portrait of Puerto Rico. So this construct of, through advertising, through tourist trinkets and propaganda and the television, there's in media, there's all these things that that portray Puerto Rico in a very similar way, and there's architectural elements that come from the military colonial Spanish the architecture that are integrated in this advertising. And
like which ones?
Like the garita, which is a fort that exists in, is very prominent in Puerto Rico, the Castillo San Felipe del Morro, which is a military fort that lives in Old San Juan, is a destination for tourists. And this particular garita element, it's just have become the logo of Puerto Rico. So you will find the garita on the tourism company logo. So that is kind of like the introduction, there will be garitas engraved in all the seats that are at the airport, at the Puerto Rican airport. There will be a large image of a garita that it's kind of like the size of this garage door. and it's like a backdrop, and there's these chairs, like how you call it, mecedoras, like
The rocking chairs.
the rocking chairs. The rocking chairs in front of this big banner that have a huge garita, you know, the picture of a garita, and that will be exactly the same images that I experience every single time I travel to Puerto Rico. So that kept me thinking, okay, there's such a affinity to this, but I think it's I think that relationship, of course, was a result of colonialism, but it's a relationship also with Spain that ended over 100 years. So to me, it's really, it's almost like if there was not really great awareness of what that particular logo or of representation signifies, and what it points out to, and it also, I think it doesn't really do any service to Puerto Ricans. Just thinking, why am I being represented by a military colonial architecture? I don't, it's sort of reinforcing my colonial condition. What are the things of value that I think speaks to the Puerto Rican people, and that really speaks to the populist culture, right? So I kept thinking about the motifs, the house motifs, or the residential architecture. Most of the motifs that I represent for the project GRAFT, they live in lower and middle class homes that are in residential sectors that were built during the 50s and 60s. So they have a particular style, but like I said, the only way to learn about what that means is just becoming curious, right?
Yeah.
I think this particular type of architecture, like vernacular architecture, is not really meant to be contemplated and thought of as something that have a story or have a meaning. I think everything have a story, but I don't think when we grow up with something like this, that it have a function, is for protection, is a breeze block, it's providing shadow, but also protection. So it's a part of the home, and it's not really, sometimes we don't question my window and what the window, you know, the history of the window, even though it does have a history of design, right? So it's the same with these architectural elements.
We take for granted those things.
We take many things for granted,
Yeah,
right?
we take many things for granted.
Yeah, especially when they're closer to us. It's it's ironic, right?
We don't see it. We don't see it anymore.
We don't see it anymore.
I think migration also helps us to know more about ourselves, because when we are in another environment, we can see clearly, oh, the things that I didn't know that I was, you know, for good and for bad also. So GRAFT, I was listening to one of your interviews, and you were talking about how these structures also have an influence of the African presence in Puerto Rico. Can you talk about that?
Yes, so that is one of my motivations of why I do this project, because the African presence in Puerto Rico, it never have been celebrated in mainstream, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to think about things that exist in the island that can celebrate that connection. And I found about this through research. There's a monograph that was written by a Puerto Rican architect, and his name is Jorge Ortiz Colom, and he wrote about the African influence in the design, build, and edification of Puerto Rico. And I guess reading about this was something that eye-opening, because I didn't really know about this African influence, and it have a difficult history, and I think having that information available for people to consider, because it's also a theory. But when you compare this architecture to the African architecture of certain regions, you can find it. You can find
similarities.
You can find it exactly as is. You can find this particular 4-point star in the Adinkra symbology that is from the region of Ghana, and these symbols have particular meanings. And for example, this 4-point star have a meaning of protection and guidance, but it makes perfect sense, right, if you think about it. So in the Adinkra symbology, there's all these different types of decorative patterns and designs, and each one of them have a significance. And there's many of those patterns and drawings that you can find in the decorative motifs of the houses of Puerto Rico.
Interesting, very interesting. I have seen this type of architecture also in Mexico, in the Caribbean region.
It does exist in many, many parts of the world. And for example, the last time that I see them in the United States as well. I mean, if you go to the north side of Chicago, there's going to be a lot of fences integrated to the houses. They don't look the same, but some of the motifs are similar. You will find some of these motifs that are not necessarily exact like the same, but there's some that are similar, that are more a part of that type of fixtures that exist in the household, like iron fence doors and such. There's a particular language that is more that you will find in more regions than others, that became more popular in the mainstream, and they're sold at hardware stores, and you can source it, and you can decorate your house with it like modern or like more contemporary architecture even. And they're interesting because they also point to a class, so that to me become very interesting and important, because it's also about elevating your own, like putting yourself and playing with the rest. I don't know, I always think about equality and like these distinctions that can also play a role in like the self-esteem of a society of people, and elevating these elements that come from lower middle class cultures and class in Puerto Rico. Made me think about the value, the cultural value of the elements, and also of these the homes. And if people think about the homes as something of value, I think there's this, the possibilities are so much, because that it becomes like landmark, like like is as important as a landmark. You know, it could be as important as a landmark.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. So art in many times it's a portrait of the society in which was created, and in this particular case, this project GRAFT, it's talking about something, and how you see in the future people seeing GRAFT as a portrait of what type of society, what is talking about in terms of history.
I think there's something political about it, about equality, about maybe some form of decolonizing the current identity of Puerto Rico, that it have really settled for these particular images of colonial military content. I think there's much more. Feeling celebrated as well, I think is an important part.
Very important. Very important. And I feel that Puerto Ricans will look at this and say, hey.
Yeah, yes.
That's ours.
That is the biggest honor when the Puerto Ricans tell me about it, tell me how they feel about it. When Puerto Rican artists tell me that they have feel influenced by my work, or professors tell them about my work, and they show me their work and say, I did this, I did this, thinking about your work. And in fact, the decorative elements and representations of these houses, even in the incomplete form where they are not, it's not possible to live in them. When they are fragments, you know, there's representations of every single part of this architecture, from the representation of the house itself to representations of the fences and representations that are more imaginative and have, you know, are alluding to the forms and the shapes and the home and the household.
I'm thinking right now about the screen house that you had in Millennium Park, and how it combines this history of Puerto Rico, or history of this architecture, with a very modern space, and also talks about the mix of the cultures in this city. Was it a very important message for the Puerto Ricans to have that screen house in Millennium Park?
I don't know. I will never know. But I think for some it was. It certainly, made some kind of impact, as it had been expressed to me. I mean, you see, like, screen house is iteration of GRAFT, but it's not titled GRAFT because screen house is self-standing, or like a standing sculpture. It's not an architectural intervention itself. It's not like connecting to a particular architecture. I have to consider the materiality of the plaza to figure what will be the adequate form and shape. And as you know, Millennium Park is made of concrete, and I thought it was a good opportunity to explore that material and in its form, and just do a representation of the concrete blocks in Puerto Rico. But also it took the shape of the house, and it has certain qualities of the common house of Puerto Rico, which have a flat top, There's not like a particular point. There could be a diagonal kind of presentation of the facade, but there's not. But this one is completely flat on the top, and it has space inside. Thinking that that it will have it will be fully realized when other artists and dancers, musicians interact with it. So we had a few activations at Millennium Park where we had activations by different artists.
It was the drop for different expressions of art too.
Yes,
Yeah.
but also that activating the space, it becomes like a celebration of the space as well, you know, and life at home.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So finally, why this graft is a destination or destination?
Well, it's always a destination, right? Where am I going, or where it's coming from, and perhaps that all of the iterations ended up here. I guess it make this place a destination. Like I was thinking about destination, but in terms of my migration and how it's not only in between, you know, two places, but maybe two lands. But there's so much, you know, there's so much that mark that distance and that difference.
What else you have cooking? Because I know that right now you are in residency in San Diego.
Yes,
And
I see
next
San
year
Diego.
you will have another residency that is already marked in your website. So what is next? Where you want to invite us to see you?
Well, currently, thank you. Currently, I have the exhibition at ICA San Diego that will be on view until August. And I also have an exhibition in New York that is titled Dos Cuerpos, Two Bodies. And that exhibition will be there until next month. And this exhibition right here.
This exhibition.
I think there's the Screen House will be at the Millennium Park. I'm sorry, till September. So if you haven't seen Screen House, I think this is the time to go see it.
Yeah.
Go to Millennium Park and look for the Puerto Rican artists.
You had also Screen House in the Botanic Garden. Is it still there?
This is the structure of. This is the structure. So as you might know, I repurpose a lot of material from my work. So Casa Isla at the Chicago Botanic Gardens was a temporary commission. So it was with the purpose of celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Chicago Botanic Gardens. And that celebration had a period of time, and I think it was floating in the lagoon for 4 months. And as you might remember, if you saw it there, I'm not sure if you saw it, but if you saw it.
Yes.
This structure was over 30 feet away from the viewers, so nobody could see.
That's why I didn't recognize that same structure.
I know, but I did know about this exhibition when they told me about that commission.
Okay.
So when I start thinking about what that was going to look like, I thought of both places. You know, this is the skeletal of that structure, or exactly the same. We actually didn't change anything. I say we because there's a team of people that helped me with stripping the panels and cleaning them because they were sitting in the lagoon. But now, you see, out there in the lagoon, the considerations, you know, that it's what make the work an architectural intervention or a site responsive type of work will be, in the case of Casa Isla, it was everything about the botanic gardens and how I bring the gardens into my work, or how I made my work feel like it's a part of the garden. There's these two things that I wrestle with when I'm doing the work. And one thing that came in that was more literal, more obvious to me, something that I think everybody could maybe make the connection, was putting a tree inside the house. So when the house structure was floating in the lagoon, you can see the trees. It was like a bush that the source that I actually requested, and then the botanic garden source this particular bush that was all kind of empty, no leaves. It had nothing. It was completely naked. And as the months go by, the bush grew, and you can see it all in its beautiful splendor. It was really nice to see that transformation of this natural body. But the colors also that I applied to the surface came from my multiple visits to the botanic garden and absorbing the light and absorbing the colors of the environment. And then there was this palette that I applied to the surface as if it was a watercolor canvas.
I remember. Beautiful. Okay, so this Destination al Destino, a Decade of GRAFT, it will be here, started this past April 22nd, and it's going to be here until August 6th. So we invite everybody to come and see the exhibition. And thank you, Edra, for giving us this interview. And we are very, very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Esme. Always so nice to talk to you.
Same.
Thank you.
Thank you.